After experiments I know this. A certain thickness of a certain food needs to be seared and barbecued for a certain time, given my specific barbecue grill's preheated temperature. Every grill is different. I am not discussing anything other than how to make a calculator for my given assumptions. Here's what I know and my assumptions. Sear it for 1 minute, flip it, sear it for 1 minute, take it off, burn it for 4 minutes, flip it, burn it for 4 minutes, and remove it. So looking at this on paper, these are the calculations and action alarms. So we have one food item, we know it's going to cook, sear for 1 minute on one side, flip it, sear it 1 minute on the other, burn it for 4 on one, burn it for 4 on the other, and then remove it. So at time 0 on a stopwatch, we would start the searing. 0 plus 1, after 1 minute, we would flip it. So sear 1, that means 1 minute of searing. At stopwatch 1 minute, we would flip it. We'd have the time on the stopwatch at 2 minutes in. We would move it to the burner at 6 minutes in. We would flip it, and then at 10 minutes in, we would remove it. So let's move on to multiple item cases. If you have multiple items, say you have 3, and they all fit on the same sear at the same time, then food item 1 would just be food item 1 through 3, and then you would use the same math here and flip them all at the same time, sear them all at the same time. But let's presume that you can only fit one item on the sear, and you have to go through a process. So here's 3 food items that are going to go on the sear at different times. Each item is exactly the same, we're presuming. So on the first one we just went through, at time 0, you start your stopwatch, you start searing. At time 1 you flip it, at time 2 you burn it, at time 6 you flip it, at time 10 you remove it. Instead of at time 10 putting the second item on the sear, we are going to sear 1, burn 1, burn 1. We're going to move the process through the grill. So we start at 0, sear, 1, flip, 2, burn, 6, flip, 10, remove. But in line with that, on your stopwatch, at time 2, because that's when we take the first item off the sear and put it on the burner, at time 2 we're going to start the second item searing process. So at time 2 we start searing, at time 3 we flip it, at time 4 we start burning it, at time 8 we flip it, and at time 12 we remove it. Same with the third one. Item 2 comes off the sear at 4 minutes in. So we put our 4 down here, and we start searing the third item. So time 4 we start searing, 4 plus 1 is 5. At 5 minutes in we flip it, at 6 minutes in we start burning it, at 10 minutes in we flip it, and at 14 minutes in we remove it. And I'll post this image here so it's clearer. So here's a video of my setup on my grill. You might have a different one, and then you just change the math. So I have 1 sear and 3 burners. So online you can get apps that allow you to set multiple action times using like a stopwatch function, and you just enter the times you want things to occur, and then you'll get the message. There's probably apps where you can enter in very specific details, and then it'll form the alarms for you. I just found it was a lot easier just to do the calculations myself because all the items were identical, and even if they weren't identical you could still do the math such as this and write it down, and then use just one stopwatch and keep an eye on your time, and it all came out perfect.